was. It felt like forever. I did a top 25 Batman stories on my original blog, which was called Once Upon a Wednesday. Was hosted. It's a blogger, um, and at that time, and still to this date, one of my favorite all-time Batman stories. You know, a lot of people say it's Frank Miller, The Dark Knight, or they say Arkham Asylum.
Killing Joke.
The Killing Joke is, I mean, and those are great stories. Jim Lee's Hush is another one that's up there right now. But for me, at that time, what has always been the best Batman story has always been Tower of Babel, or Babel. I don't really.
It's actually Babel.
Okay, Babel, tomato, tomato, whatever. But that to me has always been the best Batman story. And ironically, it's out of print.
Mm.
It has been out of print for almost 2, maybe 3 years now, which pisses me the fuck off because I actually, what?
I was just going to say, I don't know why they don't keep it in print at all.
I don't know either. Because
that was a Justice League story.
It was a Justice League story, but it was about Batman. Matter of fact, they kind of made a animated movie, which was Justice League Doomed. It's loosely based off of that, very loosely.
That was Mark Waid,
i.e., as in Batman was his plan. It had nothing to do with Vandal Savage, but I do like Vandal Savage as a character. It was actually Ra's. They broke into the Bat Cave, no Mirror Master, and they stole Batman's plans. And it wasn't Hal Jordan, it was Kyle Rayner.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because he was a bitch, and he just had to because he was.
And it was also in that time. It was the 90s. It was very early 90s when Hal was no longer around.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, back when that's when I stopped reading Green Lantern because. Well, they had killed Hal off, and let's just face it, Green Lantern wasn't Green Lantern with Hal. I mean, Hal was Green Lantern.
Totally disagree, but anyway, go ahead.
I know you like that other guy,
Kyle.
No, the other guy, the black guy.
Oh, I like John Stewart too.
Yeah, him.
Yeah.
I don't like him, but anyway, no, he's just too dry and boring. But anyway, so for years that had always been my favorite Batman story, and I try to read just about every Batman book that comes out. And this book right here, Batman Noel, was the book for me that actually knocked that Tower of Babel out of Babel, out of #1 spot. For me, this is my #1 Batman story currently of all time.
Hence why I got it as a Christmas gift.
For me, I don't know. It's the artwork. It's the story. It has a good flow for it.
Walk us through it.
Well, I'm not going to be as probably long-winded as you. I'm not very good at reviewing, say books, which is why I created a little cheat sheet right here for me to look at. But the whole entire book is really based around Batman's life as well as like the Charles Dickens A Christmas Carol. And what?
Dickens.
Whatever. That guy. He's not important. What's important in this book?
Yes, he is.
In this book, what is important is Batman. Okay.
As in life, nothing else.
Right. Now, who in the Dickens...
Thank you.
I did that for you. In the Dickens, who was the ghost that actually originally presents himself?
Jacob Marley.
Jacob Marley.
In the Muppets, it's Marley and
the one that the one that escorts him around.
Well, they kind of all do, but in the beginning of it, if you're my niece, you call him Makeup Charlie. And he was so cute. But in the beginning, when Ebenezer Scrooge is, presented with this whole thing where it's like, this is what's going to happen, and you need to be prepared for this shit. It's his old business partner, Jacob Marley.
All right.
Just like the book and the movie start. Marleys were dead to begin with. Remember that. Or else nothing else you'll know is magical. You have to remember that they're dead.
And if you watch the Mr. Magoo version, which is great, because there's awesome songs.
Yeah, there are.
Right, anyway. So Superman, and I don't normally say this, but Superman is probably one of the best parts of this book. because he is the one who takes Batman on his journey throughout, whatever.
Is Wonder Woman in it?
No.
Is the Spectre of the Phantom Stranger?
No.
That kind of makes sense.
Catwoman's in it.
Christmas
okay.
Night.
Yeah, Catwoman is in it. The Joker is obviously in it.
That's
And
not true.
there's a character in it, and his name is Bob.
Bob the Goon?
Bob.
No, he's actually some guy who's he works for Wayne Tech or Wayne Enterprises. But he's resorting to a life of crime because he's trying to put food on his family or his son's in his dinner table, whatever.
What's his son's name?
The Cratchit,
name
Bob
Bob?
Cratchit,
Okay.
exactly. So there's some loose, but you don't really feel for Bob in here like you do for Bob Cratchit or Tiny Tim.
Actually, no. I'm going to interrupt him on this. You do feel for Bob because he's resorting to a life of petty
I
crime
think
in
what
order
Lee's
to
trying to say
eat
is that
his
he
son.
didn't.
No.
It's just like Jean Valjean.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mozzarella,
No,
Victor
you
Hugo.
don't feel for Bob. Okay.
Same time period as
Right.
Charles
Well, anyway,
Dickens.
you
Yeah.
don't feel for Bob whatsoever. But what's kind of ironic is that Bob does work for Wayne Enterprises, which means Wayne Enterprises is kind of like this big, huge,
Conglomerate.
well, not conglomerate, but they're like this, I don't want to call it, but they have that Walmart syndrome where they don't really care about the small,
Corporation.
huge
Conglomerate.
corporation. No, I wouldn't call Wayne Enterprises a conglomerate.
Well, it's a fictional conglomerate, but yeah.
I don't know about.
you?
Yeah, I don't think so. Anyway,
it's
this
Batman,
is
sorry.
my story. So
He wrote it.
and actually, I'll get to that. But
Did you?
it so it's kind of weird to see that like Batman really or Bruce Wayne doesn't really care about the small people that he works for. He's too engrossed in his nightlife, so to say. So unfortunately, Bob does have to. He's a small-time petty thug or criminal who is employed by the Joker.
Oh.
So he
yes.
is like Bob the Goon, kind of. He's a mix of Cratchit and Bob. Does the
Okay,
Joker
sure,
shoot him at one
whatever.
point?
Actually, towards the end of the book,
Does
the
he?
Joker does threaten to shoot him in front of his son.
Oh.
my god.
And he actually says, "Who shot Bob?" The Joker shot Bob with a revolver in his living room. I think he said something
In
to
the
that effect.
observatory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With a candlestick.
It was kind of funny.
You shoot him with a candlestick?
But
One hell of a shot.
you get to
Yeah.
see how like the people of Gotham originally looked at Batman, and then how they now look at Batman. So originally he was a sense of good in Gotham, and now he's more. They made him more of like he's become more of like a menacing terror. But I look at it like this: if you're not committing crime, well, then you don't really have to worry about the
Well,
Batman.
So
There's
pretty
that.
much the story went with how a superhero's a superhero, but then they have to have a downfall, and people are against them, and that's what it's
I
turned
don't
into.
know.
Would you say that he's the bane of everyone's existence?
But
Only if you're a criminal. Jason Todd's in the book too.
is Tiny Tim Drake?
No, Tim Drake's not in it. Jason Todd is like his Marley though.
Oh.
So that's why Superman isn't really the Marley. He's just the ghost that carries him around.
He's
See,
the ghost of Christmas present.
Present, yeah. Present is the first one you see.
Okay. And then, well, again, and the artwork is just top notch.
Let me see.
Here you go. It's written and drawn by, and I'm gonna really probably mess up his last name, but Lee Bermejo.
No, it's Bermejo.
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 J was silent.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I like Jero. Sounds better, but Bermejo.
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 Roll your R.
I can't do that,
Bermejo.
Brian. I can't do that. I'm
Like
sorry.
when I talk about Khal Drago,
Yeah, I can't roll the R's.
Ooh, look at Catwoman. She's hot.
and here she is.
Yeah.
But-
check that out.
and
Actually,
then you
this is my
always
favorite
like the
of this. It's
little
the whole-
Yeah.
things that are in the book. I mean, if you look at the art
It's beautiful.
It tells the
It's
story. You
stunning.
don't need to read the book. It tells the
Yeah,
story.
I agree. It's gorgeous.
Now he's actually done some other things. The
Joker.
biggest, the Joker, which ironically the Joker's drawn much the same way.
Wow.
And it has almost like a
Beautiful.
Heath Ledger look to it.
Yeah.
Now he's also done another book called Luthor,
Mm-hmm.
which is really, really good. Yeah, actually,
You get
it's
a
if you
feedback.
flip it over, it's actually the Joker. It's absolute Joker and Luthor.
Huh.
But his artwork is just top notch. I don't, and he did a little bit in one of the Batman Black and Whites,
Yeah, it's a really good
which was probably the best art. Um, yeah, and then when you get to the back of the book, there's these little thumbnail sketches, much like was in your Black Canary book. There's these thumbnail sketches that you get to see, what the artist was actually thinking
Yeah,
and doing.
Like that.
Yeah.
That in and of itself is just beautiful.
Yeah.
absolutely.
That's amazing.
I would love to have this guy. Actually, I prefer that one right up top.
Mm-hmm.
Here.
Yep. I would love to have this guy actually. I would love to commission him to do a piece for me, or something to that effect. I cannot tell and say enough good things about this book. Whether it's the art, whether it's the story, and I think the fact that and then by the way, Batman does end up saving the day, and he comes crashing through the window. And when I say he saves the day, he doesn't beat up the Joker, he doesn't beat up Bob. He tells Bob, be the hero that your son knows you are. Don't pull the trigger, because at the end, Bob actually gets the gun from the Joker, and yeah, and Superman's kind of cool though in the book.
And honestly, on a side note, receiving this as a Christmas gift, the possible sentimental side of Lee, the vague description that he gave me of this was that you will enjoy this. It's really good. The story is something that you can possibly relate to, but more so, the art is the best of it all.
Yes.
And everyone's familiar with A Christmas Story,
Mhm.
or I'm sorry, A Christmas Tale, excuse me. And we are, but not kind of in this sense. But even still, even before you open the book, the cover is really indicative of kind of how dark, but also how true this is
Mhm.
going to be to life. And if you're familiar, obviously, with anything remotely in the Batman universe, you can relate to every single thing in this book. So you don't need to really totally be involved with Batman to understand what is going on.
Right.
Two things. I don't know where you had your hand, but there was that. Yeah, right there. Look, you
It's
have
probably on
Kane's
Batman's
Electronics. Get it?
Yeah, Bob Kane.
Yeah, that's cool.
No, there's a lot of a little.
Is there a lot of little things?
There
in
is, yeah, there really is.
Yeah.
And originally they actually had said that Ben Affleck's suit was going to be based off of this.
Mm.
I don't see that, but yeah.
For anybody that doesn't read Batman comics and they do play the Arkham games, Arkham Origins, there is a costume.
There is
You can
absolutely
play as the,
ironic now that when I've beaten it, that's the only costume I actually wear right now.
Well, think about it. It happens on Christmas Eve. You get to play as the Batman Noel costume, which is actually kind of cool.
I think I read that Bob Kane is getting.
He's getting a star on Hollywood
posthumously,
Boulevard.
right, on the Walk of Fame. Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing.
I'll fly out there and take a picture of it for you.
There
Well,
you
that's
go.
nice.